Welcome to A Million Ways to Live. I'm Chris. I'm here as always with my co-host Cassie. We're going to dive into, explore, dissect a million different ways to live a good life. It should be fun. The show and life, they should both be fun. Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Chris.
Do you know what we're talking about today?
Yes, I do. Mr. Bryan Johnson.
We're talking about trying to live forever through the lens of Mr. Bryan Johnson.
Okay.
So, would you like me to give the bio of Bryan Johnson, or do you want to give the bio of Bryan Johnson?
I'd like to hear your version of the bio.
Oh, I'm just reading his,
yeah. Go ahead.
His Wikipedia version.
Okay.
So, Bryan Johnson, he is 46 years old. He's a tech entrepreneur. He sold a company called Braintree to PayPal years ago for $800 million. So he's got a little money. And then after that, he founded a company called Kernel, which, did you come upon them at all?
Not a lot. I saw that, but I don't know what it is.
They make brain-computer interfaces. They measure brain activity. They have like these funny helmets that I don't know if they sell them or if you have to like go to a lab and wear one of their helmets, but they measure brain activity.
Okay, cool.
So that's Colonel Bryan Johnson. I think he still runs that. That's still a thing. But he is now best known for what we're going to talk about most of the time today, which is he's a hardcore biohacker / longevity guinea pig, I guess is the best way to put that.
Yeah.
So he spends, there's 1,000 articles out there, very recent. He's in the news quite a bit. He was in Time Magazine, he's in Rolling Stone, a bunch of other large publications. But he spends around $2 million per year on optimizing his health, I guess is the best way to put it.
His quest for anti-aging.
Yes. So he has a team of 30 doctors who monitor and advise him, and they measure everything, daily measurements, blood, everything you can imagine. Every vital sign that you can imagine, every organ is measured and its functionality to optimize it. He takes over 100 supplements a day. He rejuvenates his penis with shockwave therapy.
I didn't come across that.
Yes.
Okay.
He even sleeps with in the Time Magazine article, they said it was like a little jetpack for his penis because it measures his erections throughout the night.
Okay. What does that help measure?
Well, I think the quality of erections is a good
indicator
canary in the coal mine of heart health.
Okay. I thought it was
because if blood isn't pumping well, then you're probably not going to have
nighttime
in the optimal number of, or I guess hardness of nighttime. I'm not sure.
Okay.
And then he follows a highly regimented and very strict, in his case, vegan diet. And this is all in an effort to reduce the speed of his aging.
Yes.
Is how I think he would put it.
Okay.
Ultimately, is that trying to live forever effectively? Because there's something called, I forget what it's called. It's the longevity escape velocity, I think is what it's called. Whereas as technology progresses and our ability to, I guess, intervene in our own health in ways that keep us alive longer or cure different diseases that we don't currently have cures for. As that technology progresses, the idea of longevity escape velocity just means if you just stay alive long enough so that technology and health
keep getting
care
better.
Can keep getting better. If you stay alive long enough, you'll hit that escape velocity point where
you might live forever.
Yeah, so maybe like by 2025, they'll be able to increase the average lifespan to 115.
Yeah.
And then, great, you made it there. And then by 2030, maybe it's so you get the point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think that's kind of the idea where they describe it as the man trying to live forever. He would interject it. I think I've heard people correct themselves when talking to him and saying, I mean, trying to reduce your speed of aging.
He also, though, wears shirts that say "Don't die."
Yeah, that is his slogan.
Okay. So the goal is not to die.
Yes, that would be a
Isn't that
fair
everyone's goal?
Well, no, and I think we'll get into that. Because, I mean, the question I think we're going to really ask and try to answer today is, do you want to live forever?
Right.
Is trying to live forever a good way to live? Because effectively, let's, quit mincing words here. That's effectively what he's trying to do. Escape velocity, or trying to reduce aging, or reduce his biological age, because that's the other thing. There's chronological age. He's 46 years old. But his biological age...
41 and a half.
Is that what it is?
Something like that. Yeah.
So, but it also depends on what you're measuring. Because if he's brought this up, whereas, well, if you're judging my age by my cardiovascular health,
18.
then I'm that of an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And so...
But then he does have other things I saw, like on the list of a 60-year-old. Like weird things, like eyelash length.
Oh.
Like kind of random little things that he measures.
Yeah, so he calls himself, or he makes the claim that he's probably the most measured man in history.
Yeah.
So I have a tweet of his that I think is a good place to start beyond his bio and kind of what we're talking about. He said, "We live in a time where being healthy requires courage from ridicule." It's a weird sentence. He said it in a strange way. But this has come up in several episodes.
Oh.
We talked about
Stoicism,
the book, A Guide to the Good Life. In that book about Stoicism, the writer, William B. Irvine, says, if you're going to be a Stoic, prepare to be mocked.
Yep.
And then we talked in the Minimalism episode about how that is very much what happens when you're online, especially promoting being a minimalist. You're often called out for not being minimalist enough. Now we have Bryan Johnson, who's trying to live forever, and
he gets mocked.
He gets mocked a lot. Now, to be fair, he draws a lot of attention. He's a weird dude.
Well, it's not a nice thing to say.
Well, it depends, I guess, on your opinion of weird. I take pride in
being
the weird aspects of my personality. So I think being weird is good. So that wasn't a knock at Mr. Bryan Johnson. But he is a weird dude. So he looks weird too. And because a lot of the treatments he gets on a regular basis are skin treatments. And so he's constantly has like laser so-and-so on his face, or laser
IPL.
so-and-so. What is it?
IPL.
What is that?
I don't know what it stands for. Something pulse laser. But yeah.
So he's constantly getting those treatments, and he's constantly healing from these laser treatments. And he said that's one of the many reasons that he will actually stay out of the sun, because he's extremely prone to sun damage, because he's got like literally wounds on his skin from these laser treatments. Not to mention the fact that he is trying to avoid the sun for the most part, because he believes it does
more harm
damage,
than good.
I guess. Yeah. Because he's supplementing
with vitamin D.
Yeah. Yes. So, 46-year-old tech entrepreneur, money to burn, trying to live forever, looks like a vampire, is often called as much. And he's literally like on magazine covers holding vial of his son's blood. with his son standing next to him.
Yeah.
And, it'll be a headline like, man trying to
He plays
become
into it.
He does. So some of the mockery that he gets, he kind of eggs it on in a way. And I think it's because he's using it to garner attention through it. Nonetheless, we live in a time where being healthy requires courage from ridicule. Yeah. And I think setting aside the fact that he might kind of egg that on, that statement is important because he will talk about how it's more normal to do what he calls sad behaviors. Have you come across sad behaviors? Self-aided destruction.
Self-aided destruction. I did see that. Yes.
So he calls things like not getting enough sleep, staying up late, eating junk food, drinking, recreational drugs, smoking, anything that's just everybody knows this is not good for me. It's but you're choosing to do it. That's a self-aided destruction. And he talks about how from the courage from ridicule perspective, that all of those things are much more normal and
socially
accepted. You're not called out for doing things that are considered destructive to you, but you are called out when you're the one person who is not doing those, not participating, not drinking, not smoking, not staying out late. You're the one that's being healthy, etc.
Yeah.
That's what he says is when people are called out.
I agree with that. It's true. It's very, it's hard sometimes, depending on who you're with. If you go out to dinner and you're like, I'm just going to have water. Why aren't you drinking? That comes up regularly for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think he's right. Even though he brings a lot of his own ridicule onto himself, it is easier to avoid attention by doing the self-destructive stuff.
Yeah, the quote-unquote normal stuff, what everyone does. Yeah.
I mean, take alcohol, for example. I mean, it's horribly devastating to millions of people.
Yeah.
And yet it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It is in our culture.
Yeah.
Everything we do. Comes with alcohol. All right, so a few of the things that he does in his, what he calls Blueprint Project. He's publishing all of the stuff that he does on himself, and he calls that Project Blueprint. So he publishes his biomarkers, his measurements, and all of the different protocols that he follows online for free, he says, so that anyone can follow along or try it themselves.
Yep.
How deep did you go into that?
Pretty deep. I read through the whole blueprint online on his website, and I listened to him doing an interview where he tried to walk through a day in the blueprint. So,
and
I think we should start with the food. I think that is what most people would think is the hardest part of his life. But
what he eats, or
all of it. He eats in this pretty tiny little time window. I think 6 hours maybe he gives himself. So
it depends on, I saw a couple of different, he, did it for 4 hours at one period of time.
And then
maybe he went to 6. So I don't know what he's currently
He plays around with things too, which I think is interesting. It's not the exact same thing for a year. It's like a month or two, measure it and change. So, the timing, the window, that's hard. The eating the same thing every single day.
I don't have a problem with that.
He might switch up his third meal, as he calls it, slightly, but meals, the first two, and his drink are the same every single day. And then what he eats. So, the stat that, is it Tom Bilyeu? Is that who I was listening to? Is that how you say his name?
Bilyeu.
Tom Bilyeu. So I was listening to a podcast with him, and when he said he eats 70 pounds of vegetables a month, Tom Bilyeu was like, holy shit, that's insane. And 70 pounds of vegetables seems like a lot, but he doesn't eat meat. He doesn't eat dairy. So what else are you going to eat? You're going to eat a lot of vegetables. He eats 2,000 or 2,200 calories a day of vegetables, nuts, and berries. And
Yeah, over
olive
the
oil.
course of a month. I mean, my
Well,
vegetable or meat intake or food weight over the course of a month is probably shocking. I don't know. It's a weird metric.
yeah.
Like, I don't have a frame of reference to compare it to, though. So, yeah, it sounds like 22 pounds sounds like a lot in one big pile, but over a month, I don't know. Maybe it's not so shocking.
Well, it seems like a lot. So then just the food itself, what he eats, he says is delicious. You've tried a few of the recipes. Tell us what you think about.
Well, let's do a quick overview. I guess
Okay.
in the morning he has
The green drink.
what he calls the concoction, I think.
I don't
Green
know.
Giant.
Green Giant.
That's what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a couple of different supplements
Mixed into water.
mixed with water. Yeah. That one's more of a get the body started in the morning thing. It's not I don't think he even calls that a meal.
No.
But yeah, he has some supplements and a glass of water in the morning. But the first meal is that nutty pudding.
I thought he ate super veggie first.
Oh, is that first?
I think so.
So he has super veggie, which is just
Black lentils, broccoli, cauliflower, shiitake mushrooms, garlic, lime juice, cumin. I think that's about it.
yeah, I made it. And it would be fine to eat if it wasn't such a large helping. It's like eating a gallon bucket full of hummus.
That's what he kept saying. He's like, it's just eating veggie hummus. I
And
don't
that's
know what
right,
the big deal
but,
is.
And it's fine. I like hummus. But when you're eating it with a giant spoonful of hummus for 45 minutes to get to the bottom of the bucket, you're just sick of the shit by the time you're at the bottom. It's fine. It tastes okay. It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a bucket of hummus. And so, yeah, that's not enjoyable by the end of it.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe there's some tweak to be made to that makes it a little easier to get down the gullet. But it's not bad. It's just too big of a load of the one thing. The second meal is the nutty pudding. And that one I think is actually delicious.
You eat nutty pudding every day.
I made that, I don't know, a year ago.
Yeah.
And literally have it every day. It's delicious.
And that one doesn't sound bad. I mean,
so it's macadamia nuts, cacao powder, macadamia milk, a bunch of blueberries, walnuts,
flaxseed.
Does it have flaxseed in it?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, there's 20 ingredients to it, but the bulk of it is like
nuts,
berries, cacao powder, so it's got chocolatey flavor.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So that's easy. And then his third meal is like different things. He'll have like I think a
sweet potato with quinoa and other vegetables, or asparagus salad. All just vegan food.
I don't think the food thing is
non-processed.
The meals are actually like seem pretty good, except for the like giant bucket of hummus thing, which is good. Just too much of it.
Every day.
Might get used to it. The thing that I think is the hardest to get over is the same exact thing every single day. I don't mind that. When I find something I like, I eat Chipotle, the same thing every day for like
years.
2 years.
Yeah.
I currently, before I started working from home more, was eating the exact same lunch day after day after day for a long time.
Yeah.
I'll switch it up every 6 months or so, but maybe I'm the oddball in this situation. I don't mind and even kind of like having the same thing every day. When I find something that I like, I don't mind having it every day.
The one thing that is appealing about that, and I've said it before, and he kind of said it in one of the interviews, was I don't have to think about what I'm eating.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I love that.
I agree with that. That is wonderful. I hate thinking about what I'm eating for every meal of every day.
Think about all of the energy, the mental energy and time
if you were
wasted thinking about what are we going to have for dinner tonight. I don't know. It's just a miserable question. Like,
It
as soon
is.
as you ask me, what are we, like,
You make that exact.
I don't know. I don't care. Nutty pudding. If you were on board, I would have 3 ingredient dinners.
Chicken, rice, broccoli.
Yeah, and just like sometimes chicken, sometimes steak, sometimes pork chops, and just, have 3 different types of potatoes, different types of veggies, and 3 different meats, and you just rotate those in and out with each other. A little salt, a little pepper, a little butter, a little garlic, and you're done. I just don't care. I love the meals that you cook, and you're really good at cooking. I'm not. So maybe that's part of it. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is the most appealing part of the way he eats, is the automation part of it. While it's also one of the hardest parts, because I think most people enjoy some variety and spontaneity in their eating, it would be nice to not have to think about it.
Yeah, so that's where he is super strict. So he calls, here, I have this quote somewhere. Give me one sec.
I mean, he doesn't deviate. Not at a party, not for a birthday, not on vacation, nothing.
Yeah. He says his focus is on the elimination of self-destructive behaviors. And he may have called it more than once, but the giving into cravings and having a cookie or a piece of pizza an act of violence.
Against yourself. Yeah, I feel like that's extreme.
Again, it's because self-destruction is normalized.
Yeah, I know. As I was listening and reading, it makes you question how you view things, but I'm just one of those people, I think, that people ask him, does your life suck? Like, are you happy? I think so many people get enjoyment out of eating and food and social situations revolving around food, and like, it's just normal behavior. But I don't know. I feel like I would be sad.
Yeah, he talks about that a lot. The Time magazine article had a quote in there and said, if living like Johnson meant you could live forever, a big F, would it even be worth it?
Right.
And I think that's the question. So we're just scratching the surface of everything that he does in a day. I mean, we're just talking about the food. Yeah. And let's not forget the fact that he sold a company for $800 million. He's got 30 doctors or however many.
He has a team.
He has people who
make the food,
prep
buy the food.
things for him. So I made the what's the
super
veggie one time, and it took me an hour to chop things and arrange everything and then put it in a blender and then get it into it's a pretty big undertaking.
Yeah.
Now maybe you can do something in bulk and make it easier. I don't know. That was just a little experiment. But he has a team. He's got a lot of people. He has a lot of money. So
time.
It's much easier. He has he can do whatever he wants, and he does. And what he wants to do is this. Is he happy? He says yes. He says he's never been happier.
Yeah.
So in an interview, he was saying that before this venture into optimal health and reversing his aging, he was like everybody else. He, at 7:00 at night, would go, I think he called him Bad Bryan, the bad version of himself.
Something like that. Yeah.
That at night would go and have late night snacks and eat bad food and stay up late and do self-destructive behavior. And that's when he said he was depressed for 10 years. He was maybe overworked with being an entrepreneur and growing his company. He said he was also in a bad relationship. He was also father to young kids, and that was hard. So he had all of these things. So can you isolate? It was all because of his diet and his health. Maybe not. But he says that now, despite all of the regimented, strict way of living, that he's never been healthier or never been happier.
Right? It's probably worth experimenting with. I mean, what's the harm? If you had the time and the means to do it, I don't know. No one's going to make you do it forever, but you could try and see how you feel.
Well, you're in luck because he has some sort of blueprint kit that he's got a waiting list for. It's not out yet.
Okay.
What's it called? The Blueprint Starter Kit, coming soon. Join the wait list. So you can do it. Obviously, we won't have 30 doctors
Testing
and $2 million.
everything.
Yeah, we've gotten some of the online health tests that they're just crazy expensive for one time for very little data. I mean,
and then the
just
only
getting
way
your minerals tested, it's a couple $100.
The only way it's really useful is if you make a change and then retest in
you
6
have
months
to
or a
do
year.
something and then see how that affected things and continually tweak like he does. I'd be interested to see, like, here's how we recommend the average person does it. Yeah, it's a really, 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 really hard process to follow to a T like he does. He's got a lot of things on his side with the money and the time. But I think the question is prioritizing longevity a good way to live? Take into account the example that he is setting. He always makes the statement, I understand that I am an N of 1, meaning this is a study with one participant. But he says it's better than a study with an N of 0. No. So he's putting it all out there. He's making everything public. He's not selling this, to be fair.
Yeah.
The Blueprint Starter Kit, maybe that's going to be
I'm sure there's
something.
some cost involved.
He does sell olive oil because he eats or drinks a lot of olive oil throughout the day.
I heard him say he was also going to try to start selling dark chocolate. I don't know if that's started.
Because he has a certain protocols on how to find the right types of chocolate and the right, because there's some, depending on the ground, it was, it might have the wrong heavy metals in it.
And polyphenols. How do you say that word?
Polyphenols.
Yeah.
So there's good dark chocolate. There's bad dark chocolate. There's good olive oil. There's bad olive oil. So he's going this far. He wants to make sure he has the good stuff.
Yeah.
And he found that it was easier, I guess, to source his own olive oil. And now he's trying to sell it. $75 for 2 bottles.
I saw that.
They're big bottles. But... So, yeah.
So the big question, is it worth... I think there has to be an in-between of his...
I feel like that's always going to be the answer on everything.
I know.
Because is there anything that is... I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's okay.
But is there anything... Because that's where I headed when I asked the question in my head before we started recording. The answer is going to be somewhere in the middle, moderation, yada, yada. Everything is in the middle.
Well, if we discover the perfect way to live on this podcast, then we're going to be done. That'll be the last episode. So...
Well, no, we can still highlight all the bad ways to live. But really,
I don't have a different answer, though. I mean, no. For me personally, would I want to pursue longevity in the way that he does? No.
I find a lot of what he does super appealing. I like all of that stuff. I like the self-experimentation.
Yeah, you always have. I think it's great for some people, but I think for most people, it's fine to listen to and get some good takeaways from it. Like, oh yeah, selenium. I probably really need to think about how much selenium I have. There's certain things that I think it's great to learn from and use and implement what you can if it makes sense for you. But I think obviously eating McDonald's 3 times a day and getting 5 hours of sleep a night and, no, I think that's a horrible way to live. But do you have to go the complete opposite to Bryan Johnson? I don't know.
Let's come back to the question.
Okay.
So, did we really define what longevity is? Because there's health, there's wellness, there's longevity.
Yeah.
So, I think health is really digging into the systems of your body and making sure they're working. That's health.
Okay.
Sometimes that's medicine. Sometimes that's eating right. There's a lot of, sometimes it's interventions, it's surgery. It could be a lot of things.
Right.
Wellness is, my understanding, it's more of, it includes health, but wellness means making healthy choices in life.
Not just around food and
Generally.
exercise, but
Yes.
generally, yeah.
And then longevity is specifically trying to make your life as long as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things that have come up or one thing that has come up many times is people look at longevity and forget about quality of life.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to extend the number of years you're alive.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole nother thing to make sure that they're all good years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think most of the people who are really invested in longevity would say, well, yeah, duh. I think that's like a
Their
given.
goal is not to live to be 120 and for 20 years be like lying in a bed, not able to do anything for themselves.
Correct.
Right.
But I don't know. Sometimes that's just left out of the conversation.
Yeah.
Because what he is doing, Bryan Johnson, it's critiqued a lot, not just by randos who think what he's doing is hard and unpleasant,
Mm-hmm.
but like doctors and longevity experts say what he's doing is like untested, and he's taking 100 supplements a day. How do those interact? Does he have any idea? He's always tweaking things. I get it, but he's doing things differently. And he'll even say that if you gave 4 longevity experts a case study and said, okay, here's Bob Smith. Bob Smith is this old. He has, this medical history and yada, yada. Give him a protocol to make him live to 115.
They'll give 4 different protocols.
There'll be 4 completely. They don't agree on anything.
Right. Well,
So that's the nature of the industry is nobody agrees. Well, and that makes sense because it hasn't been figured out yet. People can't
we're not there
live
yet.
forever.
Yeah.
If they all agreed, then it would have been figured out, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right?
That makes sense.
So what he's doing is an experiment, and he will be the first to say that.
Yeah.
But that's why he's putting all of his data out there in the public for people to look at it and do what they want with it.
Mm-hmm.
But he says that this time, here's a quote directly from, I think it's on the Blueprint website. This time, our time right now, the early 21st century will be defined by the radical evolution of intelligence, human, AI, and biology. Our opportunity is to be this exciting future. Aspire to look and feel your best. Opt into a system where your body and science and data do the work. It's akin to saying yes to the internet, computers, and AI to improve our lives in ways that exceed our natural abilities. Because what he's doing, which I don't think we've hit on quite on the nose yet, is eliminating his decision making ability from this. All of the measurements that he's doing are what determine what he eats day to day and which supplements he takes. So the point of the blueprint and the point of the name, he calls it an algorithm. It's his algorithm for living, because all he does is measure everything in his body. And if his liver needs a little bit more, I don't know, garlic. Does garlic do anything for the liver? I don't know. But if his liver enzymes are so that a little more garlic in his diet would increase enzyme B, then that's what gets added. He doesn't make any decisions. He doesn't say, I'm really tired of nutty pudding today or whatever. His measurements make the decisions for him. His mind has no say in it. So that's the whole point of this whole thing, is taking his decision-making power and getting rid of it. I think that, forget the same food every day,
just not having a choice.
Voluntarily giving up your power to choose.
Yeah.
Sure, you could always just give up and say, I take my power back.
Choosing to choose again.
That, I think, is what people would have the hardest time with.
Yeah.
Because anybody can jump on and do this, and I'm sure a lot of people are. Because there's a lot of people like him. There's a lot of people like me that do enjoy this kind of experiment stuff. But I think one of the things that keeps people from, besides the money, the cost of the whole thing, is completely taking the power to make your own decisions out and just
following the protocol.
letting your body determine what you eat each day.
Yeah, that's tough.
So-
No one wants to. Yeah, I even saw something say like it was kind of a dystopian way of life. Like, yeah, I wake up, I drink this, I eat this, I exercise, I do this. You know, like just very.
So he addresses that in principle number 4 of the blueprint principles.
Okay.
So I'll go through the 4 blueprint principles real quick. Principle number 1, self-destructive behavior is kinda insane. It's literally what it says. It says, isn't it weird that we commit the same self-destructive behaviors hundreds or even thousands of times in a lifetime, even when we know they shorten our life, accelerate disease and aging, cloud our judgment, and make us feel miserable? Maybe this behavior is a little embarrassing as the self-proclaimed most intelligent species on the planet. What if we didn't commit self-harm? What if it was not normalized and gleefully blessed and encouraged by society? So then he gives 4 steps to put principle 1 into action. He says, step 1, identify your 20% rascal, which is like his nighttime Bryan that goes and eats. So who's the version of you that shows up 20% of the time and does all the destructive stuff?
Yeah.
Step 3, wait a minute. Step 2, list what decisions they are and are not authorized to make. Step 3, wait for them to appear. Step 4, approve or deny their requests using step 2 list. And then step 5, celebrate, happy you for stopping self-harm. That's principle number 1. Principle number 2 is empower your body to speak for itself. What and when I eat is decided by asking my heart, liver, lungs, and my other 70 plus organs. Do we have 70 plus organs?
I heard him say 78. It's
I
things
couldn't-
you wouldn't even think of.
I wouldn't begin to be
It's
able to
like your
name.
inner ear and like your larynx and like things that you just wouldn't think about when you're thinking of organs.
I just wouldn't know. If someone would have said, how many organs do you have? I would have said 18.
78.
Anyway, what and when I eat is decided by asking my heart, liver, lungs, and my other 70 plus organs what they need to be optimal. This is done by doing hundreds of organ measurements, like we talked about, on a regular basis, then carefully analyzing gold standard scientific evidence, allowing our minds to do whatever it wants, whenever it wants, and offering any explanation it wants is the bedrock of our reality. So firmly rooted that it's beyond most of our imaginations that it would be checked by any other system of decision-making. Blueprint takes better care of me than I was ever able. It will for you, too.
It sounds appealing.
Is he selling you now?
No, yeah, like I said, there were times where it was like, okay, well,
So,
maybe.
principle number 3. The aspirations we need are beyond our imagination. It would have been hard to predict the books that would be written with the introduction of the printing press, or what the internet would enable. The same principle applies to what the human race can become when paired with the torrid wave of technological and scientific progress. We can take baby steps as we work on stretching our imaginations. And then he gives examples of the baby steps as 4-week process of implementing his food, basically. So week 1, drink the Green Giant daily. Week 2, the Green Giant plus Super Veggie daily. Week 3, Green Giant plus Super Veggie plus Nutty Pudding daily. And then week 4, Green Giant, Super Veggie, Nutty Pudding plus supplements daily. 100 plus supplements.
That right there.
And that's what a lot of even the
I can hardly take like my daily vitamins. Like seriously.
What do you mean?
That's a chore. Like to
It's
take
a chore to take your vitamins?
For sure.
Why?
I hate doing it. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of stopped.
What's difficult about that? I'm curious. I
don't
had no idea
really-
you had that was
Oh yeah, I really don't like swallowing the pills with the water. Like I don't look forward to that at all. So for a while there, I was doing like a multivitamin and fish oil and magnesium and fundamental dim, and I had like more than I'd ever had, and I was like, it is such a chore for me to take them.
My brain works the exact opposite way. I get excited to take them to the point where it's like concerning. Like
Is it
get
time yet?
pleasure
Is it time for me to take my vitamins?
by taking supplements, because like I feel like I have just made my body stronger, or I have just given my body something that it's going to use to make everything work better. I'm going to feel better because I did this. So give me more supplements. Give me that. I have the problem where I look forward to, and will even like, did I take my vitamin? I have no idea. Did I take it? I can't remember if I did or not. I'll just go ahead and take.
I know you do.
And surely have had
Double dose
vitamin days. That was interesting aside. I've just never thought of taking vitamins as a chore.
Oh, well.
So I just don't understand.
I don't think I'm alone in that.
Surely. Principle number 4. Look in the darkness to avoid being blinded by the light. And then he tells a little
about losing your keys.
Little parable of sorts here. It says, a person is looking for the keys under a street light. Someone walks by and inquires, are you certain you lost your keys here? No, they reply. I lost them across the street. Confused, the stranger says, then why are you looking here? They responded, the light is much brighter here. So.
It just makes no sense at all. Why would anyone do that?
But does it make sense what he's saying?
The parable, yeah, it does, I guess. Like, it's kind of just taking the easiest route. Like, well, I guess I'm going to do this because I can see at least. But you're not going the right way. Yeah, but I can see.
But put it into context put it into the perspective of the whole health.
So he's wandering in the dark?
I think he's saying that looking in the light is taking the easy way out despite it being counterproductive.
Yeah.
So looking in the light is like letting our minds run wild and choose self-destructive behavior, sad, self-aided destructive behaviors. I think. Anyway, he goes on common reactions. So this is where the dystopian.
These are funny. I think if you're about to read what I think.
Well, so common reactions to Blueprint. Bryan, you are surely miserable. It would be hilarious if Bryan got hit by a bus. LOL. God. Which, I mean,
people are horrible.
It is a horrible thing to say, but it is not unusual for the thought to cross people's brains.
It happens all the time.
Look at all the effort this dude is putting into living as long as he can. He's gonna walk into the street and get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
It's just life is ironic
like
that way.
Yeah.
Says, I'd rather die than eat veggies, berries, and nuts.
That's extreme. Maybe if they put the word only in there.
I've had friends in high school who I remember.
You were like that in high school.
Not in high school. I ate veggies and berries and nuts in high school.
Okay.
But I had friends from high school picked on for being super duper unhealthy. And a friend would say, so-and-so, when was the last time you had a piece of fruit? And they can't remember.
Oh, my.
So there's a lot of people like that. And
okay. I would rather die than eat vegetables, fruits, and nuts.
I think there are people like that, yeah.
Okay.
There was somebody on, it was like a Maury Povich or something talk show or maybe it was like a Trading Spouses. I don't remember. It was some form of reality TV from a while back, but just any kind of vegetable made this woman like gag or throw up. And she was really being forced to, come on, you just give it just a little at a time, figure it out. And it was really comical to watch. Sad, absolutely, but really funny. Because it would be like just a fork of, I don't know, broccoli or something. And just as soon as it reached your mouth, she just starts gagging. And it was really funny.
Okay.
It was sad. Anyway, next one is, this is dystopic.
Yeah.
That's where that came in. And then the last one is, or the last common reaction to the Blueprint is, I wish you knew my joy of pizza and donuts.
Right? I feel that way a little bit.
And then here Bryan takes it and turns it around and says, well, here's what they're really saying. I have no control over myself. Change is hard for me. I am scared of being left behind. I'm addicted to self-sabotage. Without unlimited choice to do whatever I want, existence doesn't make sense to me. He says, I hear you. I've been there, felt and thought all these things. We all know this. No one wants to be sick, diseased, and sad. We all want exceptional health and vibrancy. So those are the 4 principles of Blueprint. I mean, they're sensible.
Yeah.
And so he also says, just keep in mind that his version of this is just a version of it. Like,
Yeah, I think he said his son eats a chicken breast with his
yeah,
dinner.
so he chooses the vegan version of it. He literally tells his team, hey, can you do this? Can you get all of the numbers and all of the organs operating at full optimal efficiency
without meat
on a vegan diet?
Yeah.
And I guess they're able to do that. But he doesn't, it isn't a criticism or saying it can't be done. You can't be optimal with meat. That's so there are different versions of it. He's got a bunch of other like philosophical stuff that I don't think we have the time to get into. Did you get into the zeroism?
A little bit.
Did you grasp it?
No,
Because it's pretty dense.
I didn't grasp it. That's why I'm like shaking my head. No, I heard him say that. And the whole, is it talent hits the target every time? Genius hits the target without even seeing it. Something like that. Is that the zeroism, or is that a different
think that comes
philosophy?
into play. I think talent. He was trying to. So I guess we'll touch on zeroism.
Okay.
So zeroism is his word. So have you heard of first principles thinking?
Yeah.
So it's kind of his take on an improvement on first principles thinking, because first principles thinking, he says, has assumptions built into it, and that's kind of the idea. Let's get to where first principles thinking is boiling it down to its most basic understanding of a situation. So Elon Musk is commonly used as an example for a first principle thinker, building a rocket ship down to its core elements. Like, okay, well, a rocket needs fuel, a rocket needs this, a rocket needs that, rather than a more complicated version where he was able to use first principles thinking to boil rockets down to their basic parts and saying, okay, well, a rocket fuel is just this and a battery is just that. So if you just boil it down to its basic elements, all we need to do is go source a lot of whatever and source a lot of this. And so that's first principles thinking. It makes assumptions based on some known system. Whereas his idea of zeroism or zeroth
That's not
principle,
a word.
that's what he made his word, is finding something that doesn't exist yet or discovering a new idea, basically. So you can't use first principle thinking because that makes assumptions based on known information. Zeroism,
completely original idea.
so he uses Einstein discovering or coming up with the theory of relativity as zeroism or zeroth thinking. And so your example of talent is hitting the target, whereas genius is, what was it?
Hitting the target that you can't see. Like
Something
like that.
Yeah.
Like essentially, there was even a little picture. It showed like a bullseye for the one, the other one's hitting the bullseye, but there's no board. You can't. So
Yeah, he says on that zeroth principles thinking, which aims to uncover transformative new elements of thought, is a twin with first principles thinking. Zeroth principles thinking is about building blocks or the structure of all things, whereas first principles thinking is about system laws or how things interact.
he's a very interesting guy.
Super interesting guy. I think he's a likable guy.
He's funny, yeah.
He's a little robotic at times, but
yeah, but I think he has a good sense of humor. I mean, I think being robotic helps follow the algorithm and follow the blueprint, and
yeah, I guess you have to be a little robotic to do what he does.
yeah. So you made us say we'll come back to the question: is this the way to live? What do you think?
I think that all of the things that he calls sad behaviors, self-aided destructive behaviors, are always trade-offs.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, they always say drinking is just stealing happiness from tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's correct. But I think sometimes it's good. I'm going to come to the answer that
Balance.
yeah. I hate it feels like a cop out, but it was the same answer when we talked about minimalism. Like, well, yeah, I think it's good sometimes, but other times it's great to indulge. It's the exact same answer here. I think it's good to live a life 99% healthy, but I'm gonna have a piece of pizza from time to time. I'm going to eat ice cream from time to time. And I think you can, Bryan
Johnsons
and still be I think you can still be a longevity
seeker.
Yeah, I think you can still reach your goals
Yeah.
for longevity and health. I don't think a cheat meal every so often is going to kill you, literally.
Yeah.
Maybe he would disagree. I don't know. I think it's for him, it's not so much that the cheat meal would kill him. I think it
would mess up
the slippery
data.
well, it's this data, but it's the slippery slope too. It's eliminating that, because if
The
you
choice.
can decide on Saturday to have pizza, what's to stop you from next week deciding to have it on Sunday too?
Yeah.
He's taking that ability away from him. So, okay, is it a good way to live this blueprint? Probably not. It's impractical for
most people.
Yeah. If you do it exactly like him, it's like it's impossible for most people. Even to do some version of it is really hard, because the testing is a super important part of it. And unless you have some, I don't know, unless he comes up with a new company which is like subscription
monthly
service
testing,
blood
that
testing,
is somehow
and
affordable,
organ testing and skin testing and hair testing, and now all these different.
He does MRIs and everything, though.
Yeah, and that's the other.
Just, is that good for you?
Probably not.
I don't know. Yeah.
He does a lot of things that are like, oh, what, you're getting monthly MRI? I don't think it's monthly, but you're getting regular MRIs. Isn't that counterproductive to the whole goal here?
Right.
I'm sure he has an answer for that. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of things like that. He does a caloric restrictive diet, and one of the side effects of that, even though he's doing that for whatever benefits it produces, but one of the side effects is that a caloric restrictive diet lowers your testosterone. So he has to supplement with testosterone because
that's a marker of health and longevity. You're chasing things.
At what
constantly.
point does it become some other messed up version of our already broken healthcare system, our sick care system, where we go to the doctor and whatever ailment it is, we get a pill, and then that pill has side effects, and then we have to get another pill to reduce the symptoms of the side effects of the pill, when the solution could have been just go walk more or quit drinking soft drinks every day.
Get a little sunlight.
So at what point are one of his supplements reacting with another supplement, causing him to have to take another supplement? And it's like, wait a minute, is there a Whole Foods version of the blueprint that it does seem like too far, his thing?
I'm so glad you said that.
Well, I don't want to take 100 supplements a day, despite my enthusiasm for giving my body things that I think are going to do good. I'm also paranoid about if I'm taking that many supplements, is my liver able to filter all of that? Am I gonna,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get paranoid and, oh, what's that feeling in my side? Must be my 100 supplements blowing my
which one though?
Liver to smithereens. What were we gonna say?
Oh, really? Side note: he takes aspirin daily. You, for our listeners, won't take any kind of pain reliever medication.
Tylenol is where ibuprofen. I don't know the difference between. Yeah, I don't like to take anything that is unnecessary.
Apparently, aspirin is necessary.
And all that does is
thin your blood.
Well, the only thing that you're taking it for is to get the temporary pain to go away, which will go away on its own if you're just patient.
Mm-hmm.
And unless it's like some debilitating migraine, I just deal with the pain rather than put some foreign thing into my body that is not being put in there for a good purpose, a good long-term purpose. That's all. So so let's forget Bryan Johnson completely.
Okay.
Is trying to live forever good?
No one wants to die. I mean, most,
Some people do want to die.
Some people do. I think.
Some people that are happy want to die. Some people that are happy will say to this question, if you went and polled 1,000 people, a percentage of them would, you only poll happy people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the percentage is, but a percentage of happy people would say, no, I do not want to live forever. I want to someday die.
Yeah, I guess someday. But like, I think most people want to live as long as they can, assuming they can still take care of themselves. They still have their
quality of life,
right mind about them, and, enjoying life. You want to live as long as you can, but not forever.
Why not?
I mean, I'm saying I get why people think that, well, because unless everyone around you is doing it too, like you're going to just have a forever of like, well, goes Chris. I'm going to miss him. And then you're going to, if your kids aren't on board for living forever and,
Well, think about it. What if everybody could live forever? Except for the bus accident deaths.
Yeah, I haven't thought a lot about it because it doesn't seem like a possibility currently.
Well,
I know,
it is more and more
I know.
a possibility.
I'm just saying I haven't put a lot of time and effort into thinking about that, but I would say I would. That's a tough one. I think I would want to live for a long time, but I can't definitively say I would want to live forever.
The longevity escape velocity thing. We might accidentally reach that just by being born at the right time. You might live to the date where they can keep people alive forever.
Yeah.
So we may be them.
Yeah, there's all kinds of questions though then. I mean, so then what, do you work forever? Do you,
there's population questions. If nobody's dying, then we're going to need Elon Musk to come through on the Mars thing.
Yeah, where will we all go? Will people keep having kids? There might be there's all kinds of questions to go along with that.
You recall we did an episode on nihilism.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I thought was, Bryan Johnson he brought up the meaning of life and Nietzsche, the God is dead quote.
Mm-hmm.
He's brought that up in interviews. So our episode on nihilism, for those that don't know, nihilism is an idea where life has no meaning. So there's an idea that the finite nature of our lives is what drives us to make something of our life.
Yeah. So
let's put nihilism in that. Let's say nihilism is accurate, just whether you think it is or not.
Okay.
And there is no meaning to life, and that's a positive thing because we get to create meaning for our own lives if there is no inherent meaning.
Right.
If suddenly we live forever and we lose the thing that drives us to create meaning, then that might be a problem.
Yeah.
Because if we can live forever, then there's no point in going out today and making something of yourself, or
because you've got forever.
Because you've got tomorrow.
So do you want to live forever?
If someone came into the room right now and said, carry on living your life or take this pill and you can live forever, I'd probably take the pill.
Yeah. It's interesting. You don't know what it's going to be like when you're 150. You might be like, man, why did I take that pill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would at least take the pill from him and put it in my pocket
for later.
Or pretend I took the pill So I had the pill,
Yeah.
and then I could think about it a little more
Okay.
and let him leave. As long as he didn't have to, like, all right, show me your tongue that you took the pill.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I already answered.
You said you wouldn't?
I said I think I would choose not to. I think I would like to live for a long time, longer than currently people live, but not forever.
Okay. So we're kind of coming on different sides of this one.
What else is new?
I think we've come on everything else on the same side.
Well, because we're always like in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're both in the middle on this one too. I think trying to optimize health and lengthen the quality years of your life is obviously a good thing. And I think that it's the sacrifices that he makes that he gets a lot of criticism about are the right thing to do. And I see how they would improve the quality of his life, even though, yes, you lose out on the joy of donuts for breakfast or all of these food pleasures.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it is a good way to live. Maybe not his version of it. And I don't know that he would even say everyone should be doing it like me. I think he's saying, I'm going to be the guinea pig. I'm going to measure everything. Learn from me.
Yeah.
And this is the blueprint.
Do what you want.
Build your own house.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it is a good way to live.
Okay.
To a degree. I'm going to just hedge at the end of that comment. You got anything else?
No.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave us a review. And please tune in next week for another edition of A Million Ways to Live. Bye-bye.